All right, guys, keep a running total of how many times I mispronounced this name. Hello, everyone. Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and we are here to talk about Caoilte. I called him Caoilte at one point in time. He is the Asharrow. He is the Sylvan Watcher nuker that I have pulled very recently. He is an interesting champion. He appears to possibly be an Armanz counter. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about where he's good in arena, which honestly, he's mostly an arena-focused champion. He's an arena-based nuker. To be fair, you can use nukers in all kinds of other places as well, but really his kit focuses around countering champions like Armanz or other champions that might drain turn meter and dealing with them with a pretty punishing blow. So we're going to take a look at him, see where his kit succeeds, where his kit fails, what I like about him, what I don't like about him, and do some damage testing as well. So let's get into it. So according to the internet, this is pronounced Caoilte. I believe I've got that correct. I am probably going to mispronounce that several times. I think it's Caoilte, but Caoilte is apparently the proper pronunciation of this. Whatever. I don't pretend to do this. The Asharrow, I can certainly pronounce that correctly. He is an interesting looking champ. I do like the look on him. He's got this nice little burning wood vibe or possessed wood spirit vibe. I think it's kind of cool. He just looks awesome. Raid knocks it out of the park again. Not perfect, but overall really good looking champion. That's kind of nice. And he's got a fun kit. So taking a look at his kit here, he has a single target A1, places crit damage buff on himself for 2 turns after he does damage. Little annoying, but I guess if you get some ally attack or some counter attacks, he'll have that ready to go when he's doing his normal attacks in the first place, so that's not too bad. He's got a 5-turn cooldown bookable to 4, attacks one enemy 2 times if the initial target is killed, also attacks the enemy with the lowest HP. Both attacks will ignore 50% of the target's defense as well as unkillable and block damage buffs. This is actually really good, looks to be a really hard hitter, and of course being able to go through unkillable and block damage is great. The biggest problem with this skill is it also doesn't go through Stone Skin. If this went through Stone Skin, this would be absolutely amazing, although it probably would not ignore target's defense at that point in time. Maybe it actually can nuke through Stone Skin. We'll test it out a little bit. It can hit pretty hard, at least in my initial testing it can. Plus you can get a second target out of that if you kill the person in the first place. So from that end, this is a multi-hit, possibly multi-champion nuke. And 2-hitter is definitely good to have because you can certainly follow up with champions that might survive the first hit. So that is overall pretty good. Finally, he's got the A3 here, 4-turn bookable to 3, attacks all enemies. Each critical hit fills this champion's turn meter by 10% and heals them by 10% of their max HP. So he can heal a decent amount, stacks up to 50%. If this attack kills an enemy, places an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn. So he doesn't have any debuffs. He's mostly about buffing himself and, taking turns and killing people. Pretty simple kit here. He does have an attack in all battles aura, not too bad. He's got a wonderful passive here, and this is kind of where people think that maybe he's a counter to Armanz. Whenever this champion or an ally's turn meter is decreased, increase the damage of this champion's next attack by 20%. So if you do an AoE turn meter reduction, he's going to get additional damage. Whenever this champion's turn meter drops below 25% because of turn meter reduction effect from the enemy, places a block debuff buff on this champion for 2 turns and grants them an extra turn. So from an Armanz perspective, Armanz does a 100% turn meter steal, which point in time he'll activate this particular skill where he'll get his block debuffs and an extra turn. Then he does the stun, but because block debuffs is now up, he doesn't get stunned. Now, most other champions don't really do that weird kind of drain and whatever combo. Geomancer kind of does it a little bit, so maybe this will block Geomancer's burns, for example. Not that you're getting a lot of Geomancers in high-end arena, but, it's there. And this is still a good skill for a lot of reasons. Here is the big problem I have with him as an Armanz counter. As an Armanz counter, you really want him to survive long enough to see the Armanz, which means that he needs to be somewhat tanky. But he's an attack-based champion, which is, squishy. So, okay, maybe I'll put him in Stone Skin. Well, the moment I put him in Stone Skin, you can't drain his turn meter. And if I can't drain his turn meter, then I'm missing out on the Armanz counter, let alone the fact that if I don't need to counter Armanz specifically, if I build him for an Armanz counter and nothing else, it's not going to work as well as I might like otherwise. So he's been difficult for me to use in my initial testing, but he does seem to do some damage. So Let's test him out and just kind of see what he could do. But before you watch the video any further, did you know you can use the link down below and start a brand new raid account and get 2 amazing epics? You can get Rector Drath, you'll get her right from the start, right after the tutorial, and once at level 15, you will get yourself an Ugo. Rector Drath is an amazing support reviver. She will heal your team, she will give you perfect veils to protect you, she will throw decrease attack up there, and she has a revive, making it very easy to get through in the early game. And then on top of that, Ugo, you get at level 15 again, is a wonderful support champion. She does decreased defense, she does block buffs, she does healing, she does cleansing. She is an absolute great champion. Very helpful early game, very helpful at end game. They are very good champions in Hydra. They are very good champions all over the game. I use them regularly on every account that I work on. They are great champions and you can get them for free. But not only that, but in the first 72 hours of your account, you can use code Monkey King to get Sun Wukong, or you can use Supreme 6 to get yourself a Supreme Gallic. Both are amazing legendaries. Supreme 6 is a void legendary, so go for Gallic, I suspect. But you know what? Either one of them is absolutely amazing. Start a brand new account today. The steps are very easy. Log out of your Polarium Play account on PC or simply uninstall Polarium Play. Create a brand new account using the link. Download from there, run the install. It'll start up Polarium Play, and boom, there's your new account. If you are on Android or iOS, if you've never played before, you can download using my link and get the same benefits as well. It is an absolutely amazing way to start a brand new account, be it a free-to-play, be it a high-spend account, whatever you want to do. It helps support me, it helps get you into the game, and it's a great way to have some fun. Now let's get back to the video. So these are my pretty standard nuker masteries, and these are what I decided to go with. They make a lot of sense to me. There is really nothing he needs in the support. Obviously, something such as Cycle of Magic doesn't hurt, and Laura Steele never really sucks, but he doesn't need accuracy, he doesn't need extra HP, he doesn't put a ton of buffs on himself. It's mostly about turn meter boosting and doing damage. So the defense tree is great, so we stayed on the defense tree here. We went the resistance and critical hit route because we wanted to survive those critical hits. Bloodthirst is certainly a decent option. If I wanted to, I could certainly go here, give him rejuvenation instead of taking one of these as well. That might have been better than taking Grim Resolve. I don't know, I assume he's going to be taking a little bit of damage, maybe, so Grim Resolve felt like that might have been the right move, but maybe I would have been better off going down here for rejuvenation and then taking Resurgence as well as Delay Death and Cycle of Revenge. Meanwhile, in the offense tree, he's got the Helm Smasher, he's got the extra damage buffs, and he's got the ability to reset some of his skills or get faster as he kills people. He's supposed to do a lot of damage, so we will test that out as well. And, you know, he is a magic-based nuker, so we'll see how that works. So as far as blessings are concerned, I chose Soul Reap on him. I only have a 1-star blessing on him. I bought that from the shop. Other ones that might be interesting is you certainly could use something like a Life Harvest. Somebody should have Intimidating Presence at some point. Lightning Cage, maybe if you're worried he's going to get things like the buffs that he puts on himself stripped, but the buffs aren't super critical to his kit. Maybe Sheep is certainly always an option, but he's not going to have a lot of accuracy, so you're going to need Sheep at a higher level to really make a lot of sense. He doesn't do any debuffs, so Nature's Wrath doesn't make a lot of sense. Cracking Roots maybe would be an option, certainly not at this low of a level. Cracking Roots, you really want to get it to at least level 5 before you're kind of picking up Cracking Roots, or build a champion specifically for cracking Stone Skin. And he's not quite built for that. I think maybe the anti-Stone Skin build, especially if you can get him to 6 stars, might be the way to go, because if you can crack Stone Skin after he gets activated, that might actually kind of make his attacks do that much more damage, as well as give him some place in arena. Otherwise, yeah, I think Soul Reap is pretty good. You could even argue Phantom Touch will give you some extra damage as well. Temporal Change doesn't suck, but really there's not a lot that's very, very specifically going on for him that makes a lot of sense from the blessings. As far as the relics are concerned, the Talon is great. You could certainly use the Cat's Gaze as well. Things that add additional damage would be good. You could certainly argue that one of the things you could certainly do is use the Aspect of Siroth, I believe it is. There it is, Aspect of Siroth, yes. This week could be kind of fun because that will actually save him if he gets all of his turn meter dropped down to 0. He gets an extra turn if it's done by an enemy. But if he drops most of his turn meter and then somebody else drops the turn meter again, that might hit him to 0. So Aspect of Siroth could be another way to keep him alive outside of Stone Skin, so maybe that's certainly an option for him. Otherwise, you're pretty much looking for damage dealing relics. So as a damage dealer, I have him in lethal and I wanted him to survive, so I have him in stone skin as well. So we've got him with crit damage gloves with crit damage ascensions. He's an attack-based damage dealer, so we're looking for attack on the various stats here. I did end up with attack boots because I figured he does possibly activate his turn meter just a little more often, so maybe he doesn't need quite as much speed, and these boots were just really kind of hard to pass up. I still think that maybe speed boots are a better thing for the meta overall. He is certainly a little slow at only 217 speed, but at least the speed ascensions helped with these as well. And for the most, this is just kind of gear that I had lying around. We've got the Sylvan Watcher's wonderful refresh amulet. I love getting refresh amulets on nukers because it's really nice to get their hard nuke back early. Could have put a 5th piece of stone skin on there. Could have personally used, reaction would have been another good option as well. And that's honestly another way to keep him alive. If you can get 3 pieces of reaction, that might be another way to keep him alive when he could possibly get hit and locked out. So I think the stone skin works well enough. I happen to have some decent stone skin to put on him. Again, we don't need the accuracy, so with the banner we went with well, this is an HP banner, but it's got a lot of speed and some attack and ascended attack here. I certainly would like this to be attack instead, because that would be an additional 6,000. Well, it wouldn't be 6,000 attack. That'd be great. This would be another 255 attack, but we're not missing out on too much attack with this, and the extra HP helps him survive a little bit in stone skin, so it's not a bad compromise. We did get a decent ring on him. Again, not great, but my stone skin accessories are definitely limited by what I've managed to gather on the account. So let's take him for a little bit of damage and just see how he does. All right, so we've got him on Doom Tower floor 1 here. So I've got Arbiter for the increased attack. I have Lydia here for the decreased defense and weaken. I got all those out there. And first of all, let's take a look at his A3 and see how that does. That is the AoE. And yeah, 75 to 100k. Decent enough damage. Certainly not necessarily top tier for an AoE, but pretty decent overall. Let's go take a look and see what he does with that A2. All right, we got the A2 here. It's going to make sure that we hit somebody with the decreased defense and weakened. So we will take over here. We will hit Bulwark and smack him, and wow, so that is a double hitter. So he did 70k on the first hit and then went over and hit an Elenarl and did 100k on that first hit. So those hits are both going to be the same amount of power. So that was, possibly between 140 and 200k damage. So that hits like an absolute truck. Let's just get him another turn here if we can. Just lock somebody out. Not a big deal. You should have, hopefully, your skill coming up, A1. Perfect. All right, let's take a look at that A1, see where we're at. Let's hit Elenarl here. 104k with that. So he's doing a lot of damage on that A1. He's doing a good amount of damage on that A3. For an AoE, it's still pretty solid. That A1 actually smacks. I'm surprised at that. And that A2 is absolutely hitting like a truck. So from that perspective, he's doing some reasonable damage. Again, his problems are going to be, is he going to get through Stone Skin? And how is he going to get his turns if he's either slow like I've got him built, or if he's supposed to counter Armanz, are you going to be able to get him to actually get his turn meter drained if you're going to build him in an anti-Armanz build? So let's go take him into arena and just, we'll take him to a few fights. Let's see if I can find an Armanz or two to fight, and we'll just see if he does damage in general. All right. So I think this will be a bit of an interesting arena team here. We've got Cardiel here to do an ally attack. Since that A1 smacks so hard, we can get some extra attacks with that A1, so I think that'll be good. We've got Fabian here to possibly lock out and control people once we actually start getting turned. We've got Freya, who should help keep Caoilte alive, or Caoilte, as I should pronounce it. I should try to pronounce it correctly. But you know what? If you're keeping track, let me know how many times I have mispronounced this name. And we've got the speed here. I don't want to go too fast because I actually want Armanz to try to go to see how he's going to counter Armanz. So let's see what we can do. All right. So we have block damage out. He can hit through block damage. That's good. Armanz did not try to lock us out. So we'll just get the block stuff here. Can we strip a bunch of stuff here? We can. That is great. Just get a little turn lock, get that sheep out, and hopefully Caoilte should get a turn, and we'll see how we do. All right, let's try that A3, see if we can wipe everybody down. Not quite. Not as much damage I really would have hoped for. Now, he didn't have increased attack, so that, to be fair, is not the most fair tactic for him. He does have the unkillable on him now, though, and now that Armanz has a chance to possibly try to wipe him, so let's see. Let's let Armanz take a turn and see what happens. So, can control our Arbiter. You should be up next. No, you are not. So, and he killed him, so there you go. All right, we're going to actually pause this one and get back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take him out of the Stone Skin, make sure I don't have anything else in Stone Skin on this team, and we'll see what happens when Armanz locks him out. All right, so we're going to swap out for Marius here. Marius is not in any Stone Skin. I know the rest of these guys are not in any Stone Skin, and this Armanz is not pre-programmed. By the way, this is why you should pre-program your Armanz on defense, because if you program him on defense to do his A2, he will do it regardless of Stone Skin. And if somebody brings in a single Stone Skin, he doesn't like to do his A2. It's a really weird bug with his AI. Again, AI is stupid. I actually have a video on that if you want to go check that out. I'll see if I can remember to bring a link up to that. But let's go take a look and see if we can get, you know, quote unquote locked out by Armanz. See what happens. So we've got the block damage. There we go. So there we go. He took his turn. Armanz, on top of that, Marius did take his turn because Marius was protected from the stun. He doesn't get his turn meter drained. He counterattacks, and so we've got a bunch of weaken on here as well. So this doesn't go through unkillable, so we are going to go here, and we are going to go deal with you. There we go. He kills 2 people through that block damage just by being able to take that turn. So does a ton of damage. I was kind of disappointed with his A3 as far as the damage is concerned. Honestly, that just feels kind of weak. His A2, on the other hand, feels like it's doing a good job. And, you know, we're doing here. So we've actually got this under control now that we've got everybody going. And just will A1 Rhonda. There we go. So, yeah, that is Caoilte. I can certainly take him to a few other teams. You can certainly see him on other teams, but that shows you what happens when he tries to get locked out by an Armanz. And it seems to work fairly well. But he's definitely squishy because he's an attack-based champion, and they tend to be squishy if you're going to build them for damage. And, you know, his A2 smacks. His A2 is absolutely better than I thought it was going to be, but he can't hit through Stone Skin. And his A2 really feels like it could be a little bit better. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I don't have a great banner on him. Who knows? But he seems to be doing a decent amount of damage, at least. So for damage dealer, I cannot complain about him too much. So there is Caoilte, or Caoilte, or Caoilte, or Caoilte. I don't know. I give up. That dude, Asharrow. We'll call him Asharrow. That sounds good. Maybe Ash won't charge me for that one. So we'll call him Asharrow. He is an interesting champion. I think he's fun. I think his kit has a lot to bring. I think he's a fun damage dealer. I think he could be an arena nuker for a lot of people, especially if you don't have a lot of better options for arena nukers. I think he's going to need a very specific build to be able to counter Armanz, and you're going to need to make sure that you're not going to get locked out in some other way when you counter Armanz as well. At least he does ignore block damage and unkillable, which does mean that you can deal with some of the teams that might otherwise bring that buff. It does mean he can also be a bit of a counter to an Odin, for example, with that A2. And it does absolutely smack, so that's good. But really, it just kind of feels like his kit's just missing a little bit of something. Either he needs some other extra kind of survival mechanic, or something to allow you to run him without Stone Skin, or maybe it should trigger, well, it wouldn't trigger on Stone Skin because he has to get drained below a certain amount before he gets that extra turn. So I don't know if there's a great fix for him. He's not a bad champion, but he's certainly not a top tier champion. He's a little lacking for the Sylvan Watchers, who unfortunately are still kind of lacking in really great damage dealers. You've got Aleel, who's okay. His buff has certainly made him a little bit better. And you got this dude who does some decent damage. Has got other stuff that he's supposed to be doing well, but at least he can actually hit reasonably hard, and he's got a couple of useful skills, and I really do like the fact that hit single target attack can actually take out 2 people if you hit the right people and it manages to kill him. So for that end, you know, a single target that hits 2 people, I'm not going to complain about it either, and it does hit really hard. So I got to give him that at least. So hopefully you found this interesting and entertaining. Anything you think I should have done better? Anything that you think you'd like to see him tested in? There's some places you think he'd be good at? Any PvP content that you think he would actually excel in? Let me know down below. Maybe I'll test him out in some of that stuff. Maybe I'll revisit this a little bit later. You know, and who knows? Maybe he will get a buff. He's certainly not the most engaging champion, but he's certainly interesting, and I don't regret getting him because at least I got a chance to fool around with him, and I like playing around with champions like this. So if you want to see me play around with more champions like that, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate all the support that you guys continue to give me. You guys are absolutely amazing. And until the next video, I'm Bront CatHerder.